Welcome to the Health Daily Show, your go-to where leaders, founders, and investors share insights on growth, innovation, and business building. I'm Chitra Nabat, your host. Joining us today is Deborah Glasser, Sanofi Head of Vaccines North America. Deborah, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Deborah, Sanofi is the 8th largest pharmaceutical company in the world with approximately $48 billion in revenue. Your therapeutic areas of focus include immunology, neurology, rare disease, and it has a leading position in vaccines, which is about 17% of sales. Take us into the architecture of the vaccine business.
Sure. Well, so Sanofi has been in the vaccine business for over 100 years. We are a leader in influenza and flu, where we have 3 different products. One that's a standard dose product aimed at a wide population using an egg-based technology. We also have a product that's specifically designed for the over 65 population. That product is a high dose product. It's 4 times the antigen. Over 65 is still a great area that we need to concentrate and make sure seniors do get vaccinated. We also have a recombinant solution that's indicated for people 18 and above.
Sanofi says by 2030, it wants to double vaccine sales to approximately euro 10 billion. And you plan to launch at least 5 innovative phase 3 vaccine programs in the next couple of years. Bring this to life for us. What are the growth drivers?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think there's a renaissance going on in vaccines, and certainly that was spurred on by the pandemic, but building upon a very strong business, both in influenza that I just mentioned, but also in our pediatric business. We've just launched an RSV monoclonal antibody that is designed specifically for the infant population. We plan to build upon that base in RSV. We're in the clinic right now with a toddler vaccine, as well as a different look at how we could address the older adult population. In addition to that, we just announced last week a partnership with Janssen, with J&J, for something in XPAC, also focused on that older population and sepsis, as well as really interesting, robust pipeline in chlamydia, in acne, pneumococcal. When I joined the company 15 months ago, our CEO, Paul Hudson, talked about renewing our vows with science. And this is what he was talking about.
So renewing the vow with science, what you just talked about there is more reaching more people, different vaccine areas. That ties into revenue, price times volume. What about the margin side? Will we see any margin expansion from this?
Yeah, I think the vaccine business is highly competitive, and we do see high competition. We do everything we can to deliver on our margin contributions, but I think the real growth that we're interested in, why we're investing over $1 billion a year in R&D, is to provide not only that growth story, but also a margin expansion story.
RSV. Sanofi wants to lead RSV across all populations, starting with Beyfortus for infants. The Center for Disease Control, CDC, recently recommended using Sanofi and AstraZeneca's Beyfortus for the prevention of RSV for newborns and infants up to 19 months. How will you get market adoption at scale in a timely manner?
Yeah, so this is a great story. The industry for decades has been trying to tackle RSV. It is something that if you talk to anyone in an ER, you talk to anyone who's on the front lines of delivering healthcare, RSV has been something that we've been begging for some sort of prophylactic treatment. We see a lot of advancement this year in particular in RSV. But what's different about Beyfortus is it's not a traditional vaccine. It's a monoclonal antibody. You're giving it to the baby when they're born because a traditional vaccine wouldn't work because the baby's immune system cannot create those antibodies. So instead, we're giving a mAb to an entire birth cohort so that they're protected through their first RSV season. It's also indicated in a smaller population for their second season. But what's most exciting is this isn't just for a niche population. This is all infant protection. RSV is the #1 cause of hospitalizations for babies, and 2/3 of those babies are actually born full term and healthy. So this is a great advancement, but it's the cornerstone of a larger strategy in my group to really, really win within the RSV space. Up on deck next, we have a toddler solution, as well as something that we do believe will be very compelling in the older adult segment.
You talked about hospitalization for infants. Let's talk about hospitalization for those that are 18 and older. 70 out of every 100,000 people are hospitalized from the flu.
Yeah.
And your firm has been in the flu ecosystem for 70 years. How do you innovate when it comes to consumer education, consumer adoption, getting folks to take that flu every year for the rest of their life?
Yeah. So I think that this is a system-wide issue that we're trying to tackle, but I'm particularly proud of what Sanofi has done. Last year and again this year, we've really worked with our retail partners as well as some of our health system partners to get the message out there about flu. That this is a very serious disease, particularly for the most vulnerable, those 65 and older. You may have seen this wolf in sheepskins clothing DTC ad that we've ran. We actually augmented it this season with some PR, and we used iced tea. I was shocked to learn that iced tea turned 65. It made me feel a little bit old, but iced tea is in fact 65 this year and was immunized with Fluzone High Dose, which is that specifically tailored vaccine for that population. This is a problem that we all have to lock arms on. Health systems, the CDC, manufacturers, because while 65 and above is an important demographic to be immunized, we see some frightening statistics going in the other way in some of those earlier demographics. And, flu is still an incredibly serious risk. And we see somewhere between, I think the average is 36,000 deaths a year, but it can go up to about 98,000 depending on the season. Those are deaths that could be avoidable.
You touched on your CEO and innovation earlier. Let's go deeper.
Yeah.
Your CEO, Paul Hudson, says Sanofi is on an accelerated pace of innovation.
Yeah. What
are specific examples of this, and especially when it comes to using artificial intelligence?
Sure. AI here at Health is certainly on everybody's lips. I think our CEO and Sanofi in general has been on the vanguard of how we can adopt AI, not just in some of the more traditional areas in drug discovery, in trying to get faster to market, identifying targets, speeding up clinical trials, but also in our commercial practice. I mean, we've publicly talked about an app that every commercial leader has on their phone called Play. It's in partnership with a company that has developed something that connects all these disparate data sources that we have. And that's AI at scale. I think we have something like 40,000 users within Sanofi that are using this on a daily basis. And I wake up every day and I get sort of an Instagram stories that says, hey, Deb, you should pay attention to this. I came from another biotech. I never saw anything like this. And then I came to Sanofi and I was shocked that I had something that was so compelling that I could use every day. Our CEO also talks about snackable AI, that you sort of get people accustomed to using this to help you make better decisions in your job. And I think this is a great example and one that I've certainly incorporated into how I run my business.
So going further on the snackable AI, right now, a lot of folks in all industries are talking about generative AI.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what you guys are doing there, and then within the world of AI, what's next on the horizon?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think we're all trying to sort of fumble through. Clearly, the opportunities are enticing. We do work in a regulated environment, which, for right reasons, tends to slow us down as true innovation on the manufacturing side. Maybe not as much as a health system. There was a great talk yesterday about a health system that's really using generative AI to help their practitioners make better decisions about the whole patient. We're looking at many different things. I'm certainly excited about it. What I will tell you is I had a class of interns this summer. Every one of them had ChatGPT up on their browser as they were working through their daily tasks. And I said, every one of the people in my organization needs to figure out and get a little messy with this to get us to what's clearly been a disruption in what we do in commercial.
Here at the Health Conference, we're surrounded by hundreds, thousands of startups, many who believe they've got technologies that can serve and add value to the life of Sanofi.
Yeah.
Are there specific areas where you're looking for startup partners, and what's the criteria they have to fulfill to do business with you?
Yeah, so I'm very interested in health system partners and somebody that could work in a sort of a three-way arrangement with the health system, Sanofi, and some sort of technological innovation that will meet both of our goals. The fascinating thing about vaccines is health systems and the manufacturer are perfectly aligned. This is an intervention in public health. This will help any of those systems meet their quality metrics. It's going to help them with their overall population health goals. And a startup that can help bring these two parties together for better outcomes is something that I'm going to listen to. My sort of commercial, because I got hit by a number of people that wanted to meet this week, is if you're interested in meeting and working with us, I'm getting a lot of hits about people that want to meet time. Come with something tailored. It's what our mothers taught us. Like, write something that's very specific to the problems I'm facing, and I'm going to give you time at this conference.
Leadership.
Yeah.
In career business life, there are rules, codes, norms to how things are done. Where have you been a code breaker and how did you do it?
Yeah. So again, we work in a highly regulated industry, particularly on the manufacturer side, so there are bright lines. But within those bright lines, I think what's been different about my career is I've sort of assembled a bunch of different clubs in my golf bag. I've worked in primary care, I've worked in specialty neurology, I've worked in biosimilars, and now I'm in vaccines. And I think having that broad-based experience has sort of made me a Swiss Army knife. But it's also enabled me to do pattern recognition. So when I walked into this job in vaccines, I saw things that seemed similar to things that I had seen in other parts of the industry. And I think that's allowed me to maybe not break the code, but understand the code and how to maximize the code.
Deborah, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, this has been an absolute pleasure.